let's just sew whatever.
Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. In today's video we are making the Could I Be Any Clearer Stadium bag by Sincerely Jen Patterns. This bag is so fun! I don't really have words other than I love this so much. It was so quick to make, it was so quick because it's clear. But you don't have to make it clear, I'm just saying you can cut lining and exteriors out of the same pieces, put it together with binding, done. So just throwing that out there. I did make this into a convertible backpack and I tried to bully Jenny into making it part of the pattern and she said no. She hates me, it's fine. Not really. But anyway, so all I did was I cut 3/4 inch strap connectors. So this is 1.5 inches wide, 3 inches long, times 2. Added the D-ring, sewed it in place, and then added a rivet as well so that they aren't really floppy. And they're just really, like, you can barely notice them. And then you add your really long crossbody strap through to make it into a little backpack as well. Or of course you can wear it as a crossbody and it's still super cute. Such a fun pattern, a really quick, satisfying sew, and I could definitely see these selling well throughout the summer, etc. So I hope you enjoy. The very first thing that we are going to work on sewing together is the top zipper, or the zipper pocket I should say, with our jelly vinyl. I am using a clear zipper tape. I believe this was from Fabric Therapy or either Wizardry, Geeky Hardware, somewhere. Not 100% sure. But I thought this would be super fun. I'm mostly using nickel hardware, but I have these clippy zipper pulls from Salty Sews, and I was like, I gotta use it. This will just be like an all sewing themed bag, and I can't wait. So this is a PVC zipper, so it's a little stiff, but it'll work. And I'm just folding my zipper ends over top, and then I'm going to top stitch that into place. And this gives the zipper a finished edge and hides the raw edges of our zipper tape. Like that. So I'll just cut that in half. And now our finished zipper should be about 7 inches. And we're going to sew this into place, centered along our pocket. And you can use tape to hold that in place if you need to. I'm going to do like an 1/8 inch stitch. And then we'll top stitch that down. It says to do about a 3/8 of an inch. You absolutely can. I'm just going to kind of overcompensate when I fold my jelly in place to be like as close but not too close to the zipper teeth. But yeah, then we're going to top stitch that all the way across. Make sure you hold your threads when you're back stitching because this is a raw edge pocket, so you don't want to see any messy stitches. So that's what that looks like. If you want to add a woven label or nameplate to this, you absolutely can, and I think I will. I'll add this cut and sewn by hand tag. And these are designed by me and then created by Jade and Chris at the Heartwood and Hide. So sweet, such hardworking humans. I can't even fathom all the work that goes into these between designing and cutting and whew, it's a lot. I mean, I guess I could imagine. I too run a business. Okay, so this is 9, so 4.5 is the center. I'm just kind of eyeballing it. Yeah. So, it's gonna be so cute. I love the way the backside of the jelly vinyl feels. It's like kind of slick. I should say this jelly vinyl. I'm not sure what any others feel like. The one that I am using is from the Weft and Warp Co. Is from the Weft and Warp Co? Or from the Weft? Wait, from Weft and Warp, yeah. Anyway. So now we're gonna sew our zipper in place on the front of the bag. And I'm gonna grab a piece of double-sided tape. I don't want this to shift on me. So I'm putting this on the right side of the zipper, on the very, very, very edge. I'm just peeling that. And then I'm gonna grab this little cutting mat. Oh man, it's gotta be at 6.5 inches. Let's see what I can do. Cause like I really want this to look good. I want it to be centered. All right. So I guess the whole thing. So we're gonna lay this face down on top of the center. And I really want to make sure it's straight. Let's see here. 1.25 inch and some change. How about I fold this in half? There are those days where you're like, my brain just, it's not working. It's not gonna work. Okay, so I have the center at 4. So that's my center. There we go. And then I've got that taped in place. Kind of hard to see. But then we're gonna sew a little box stitch. Boop, boop. Just fold that anywhere. Okay, so I'm going to sew that in place with a box. So you can sew it at 3/8 inch first if you want, or at 1/8 of an inch. And I'm actually glad I have that tape there, because I didn't think about how this is a clear zipper and clear vinyl. Like I can't see anything. Does anyone else find clear vinyl a little disorienting at times? Is it just me? Alright, so now that that is sewn in place, we're going to lay it flat on the bag, and you want the zipper to kind of sit on itself. And then just make sure you're eyeballing the pocket to make sure it's nicely centered. Because it's totally up to you if you want your zipper to sit flat like that. I just don't think it's as nice for the zipper. Like, you want it to have some give. So yeah, I like it like that. I said I like it like that. And I'm gonna stand up so I can really get a feel for where the zipper is, or for this pocket and where it's placed and all that. Okay, that's better. And then I'm gonna sew it in place. You can either do 1 row of stitching or you could do 2. I think I'm gonna do 2. No, just 1. It's like, I am using a stitch length of 4.5. Just make sure you backstitch well at the beginning and the end, and then if you would like to, you can pull your threads to the back to tie off. So cute. So from there we can set our front and back panels aside. Set them aside, yes. And I'm gonna work on the gusset pieces. So I want my front and back gusset. I'm gonna want my zipper. I'm gonna want my handle and my connectors and my square rings. Alright, so I have 2 simple square rings. I'm just going to make this a mixed metal hardware bag. It is what it is. And then I've got my gusset front and back and my zipper tape. I have cut my zipper tape way longer than I need it to be so that I can just leave my zipper pulls off to one side. If you want to tape your zipper into place, you can, and I'm going to. I'm going to use 1/8 inch wide double-sided tape so that it's not going to show. And your zipper gets placed right side down with your vinyl right side up. And I'm lining one side of my raw edge zipper to the edge and then letting my zipper pulls hang off the opposite side, and then we're going to do a 3/8 inch seam allowance. So we're going to get as close to the teeth as we can. I am so used to basting my zipper on and then top stitching that I kind of messed this up on my other one. But then we're going to open this up right at that seam and top stitch this down. You could also add a little overlay of jelly vinyl to your zipper if you wanted, so that you don't see the raw edge of your zipper or any of that double-sided tape. Okay. And then we're going to repeat that on the front of your zipper. Now, if you are just going to make this into a crossbody, you could kind of alter the zipper if you wanted to be centered. But I think the handle is a really fun idea, because then you can make it a convertible backpack. At least that's what I'm gonna do. If you don't want to use bag binding, you could also just use clear vinyl to bind your bag, or you could use jelly vinyl. You could use the double fold bias tape. You could also potentially just leave it raw. I don't think anyone would get mad at you. Okay, so I'm gonna lay my 1-inch D-ring and connector centered over, oh, okay, yeah, right next to the zipper here. I almost put it right over the zipper, but I don't have to. That's not the center. And now I can bring my zipper pulls in. And then since this is clear, you're going to want to keep your threads pretty well trimmed. I'm going to hit the edge of my zipper tape here with a lighter. And I'm going to end up trimming this side down. We're adding bag binding, or not bag binding, but a little bit of jelly vinyl to that section, so it'll all be the same length. But for now, we can go ahead and work on our handle. So exciting. Okay, so we're gonna end up folding this in half. So go ahead and grab some double-sided tape. You really don't want the double-sided tape to be touching your hardware, so I wouldn't recommend like double-side taping the whole thing. And this is a 1-inch wide webbing. And since I'm not doing a handle overlay, I want to make sure that those are touching as seamlessly as possible. And then we're going to sew around that piece. You can absolutely use a handle accent if you'd like, though. I love the idea of a handle accent, but I love this webbing too much to cover it up. Okay, before I move on, I'm gonna fold this in half. Make a little snip on both the back and the front of my gusset. And then we are going to turn these little connectors into smaller rectangles. So I'm adding some double-sided tape, giving myself a little bit of room at the beginning and less at the end, because we're going to loop around this. Make sure this is the wrong side of your handle, because then we'll have the wrong side of our connector here as well. And you want to have more next to the connector and less on the other side. Fold that in that way, and then we'll repeat that on the other one. Again, my wrong side of the handle is facing up, and this is the wrong side of my connector. Fold more in next to your hardware and less in on the other side. So there's that. And I'll get another piece of double-sided tape so that we can set that in place. If you wanted to, you could make this out of just one piece of webbing and just add like little D-rings into the folded edges, but I think this makes it really fun and fancy. So we're gonna measure 3.5 inches from each end, and this is gonna get placed right up against my zipper, basically. Let's see. How far in from the edge is that then? Maybe 1.5 inches in from the outer edge. Yeah, that'll work. I think that's good. Oh wait, you want it to be lined up there. So maybe let's see. Oh, yeah, 1.75. Okay. I can do that. There we go. So 1.75. I've got my ruler at 1.75 against the raw edge of the back gusset top. And I'm going to lay this raw edge of my, it's not raw edge, but this edge of my webbing down into place. And then we'll repeat that on the other side. So there's my center. So on this side, it's going to be set into place at 7 inches. And it should give you this cute little perky grab handle. It's so cute. And then we're just going to do 2 little box stitches. Make sure that your handle seams even along the edges and sew that into place. If you're using jelly vinyl for this piece, keep in mind that your double-sided tape may not stick super well. Ugh. Did I just break a needle? No. What did I hit? And then if you want to add a rivet through that as well, you absolutely can. Okay. So then in order to make this a backpack later on, we can actually clip our D-rings, or clip our backpack strap through here, or you could even just loop it around that handle. So cute. So now let's go ahead and finish our gusset. All right, so I have my gusset piece here. We're gonna place these right sides together. And then I'm going to mark out my seam allowance. I messed this up on the last one. I didn't quite do a 1/2 inch seam allowance, so I figured it can't hurt to trace it out just so I can see like exactly where it is. Right, yeah. So cute. And then make sure that your gusset isn't twisted or anything like that. We'll center that. And then again, that 1/2 inch seam allowance. Watch out for your hardware. Make sure you're sewing as close to the D-ring as you can without sewing through it. And now I think this is kind of optional, but not. It's going to give you a really finished bag and strengthen that area of sewing, but this is where we're going to add our little jelly binding. We're going to fold this over. I was going to use double-sided tape, but it doesn't really work on the jelly, so I'm like, whatever. So sew that into place. 1/8 of an inch from the cut edge of our binding, so keep that in mind. Oh, I didn't catch it. But that's okay, because this also gets top stitched down. Like, we're gonna fold this down on top of the binding and top stitch again. Oh, I still didn't catch it. Okay, we'll do it one more time. I'll go from this side, because I can see my stitches. So I'll just do a second row of stitching. Yeah. All right, And then we'll repeat that on the other side, but just to give you an idea of what it would look like without, it would look like, I mean, you would see all of the nitty-gritty of your bag, essentially. Another thing you could potentially do is like lay this about 1/8 of an inch over within the seam allowance, your initial stitching, do a row of stitching, fold this down, and then underneath. But you're adding more bulk, and you would need to cut your jelly vinyl longer. So just a thought. I'm thinking I might try to trim all of this down by 1/8 of an inch as well. Just to give myself that much more room. Okay. Cool. Cool. Okay, I caught all the sides that time. So we'll fold this down, top stitch that in place. Okay, I'm going to do a second row of stitching over that to keep my binding from being flappy and to match the other side. So that's what that looks like, so that stays in place. Okay, so for the back connector, I am laying my 8-inch ruler centered at the bottom, and then I'm setting my 3/4 inch strap connector angled against the ruler. So it's sitting like directly in the curve and angled to touch my ruler. So technically it's like 4.5 along the curve, but I think this will be fairly easy. And then I'm gonna rivet through the connector and through the clear vinyl to really keep it in place, and I'm gonna do that before I sew this all together. So I've just tacked it down a little bit, and then I'm gonna rivet like right there through both layers. Okay, so that's what that looks like, and that's gonna help it stay completely out of the way when I'm top stitching, and it's not gonna be like flappy against the bag, since this is a convertible bag convertible hack that I'm adding, so I really don't want it to be like dangly and weird. That's what she said. Alright, I'm going to find my center of the top and the bottom. I'm double checking. I snipped at the top, and that is still accurate, so then I'm going to snip into the bottom. If you are wanting more structure within the bottom of your gusset, you could do 2 layers of clear vinyl as well, just throwing that out there. Or even a layer of clear, a layer of jelly, or do double layer, do right sides together, and then baste, and that would eliminate the need for the binding too. So there's all kinds of options, and if none of that made sense, I apologize. All right, I'm clipping everything together. I've started with my top and bottom centers, and then I'm just slowly working my way around to get all of that clipped in place. You can use staples or double-sided tape to help you hold this all together, but keep in mind this is clear vinyl, so might not be a great idea. You can also use double-sided tape. And I'm just slowly clipping around the edges, starting in one direction. So like working my way around the top first. And make sure that you have the front of your gusset at the front of your bag. Alright, so we're going to sew along the outside edge of the bag. Whoop, dang it, right on a clip. Goodbye, beautiful baby. I am going to be using my screwdriver to help me hold the layers into place as I'm sewing around the edge of the bag, and it'll just help prevent like any puckering that might occur with that gusset, since I can't like staple it into place or anything like that. Just go nice and slow. Make sure your hardware's out of your way. Okay. All right, I'm gonna work on binding this now and then do the other side. So I've got a piece of the frosted or jelly vinyl cut to 1 inch wide and about 40 inches long. I'm adding 1/2 inch wide double-sided tape. You could also do 1/4 inch wide double-sided tape. The reason I'm using the jelly is it's a lot thicker than regular bag binding. So this is gonna add a really nice structure to the bag. So I think it's gonna be really good. And we use a 3/4 inch seam allowance. To join the front and the back. So we want to make sure that we don't sew in past that 3/4 inch. And so I'm just folding this around the edge. And if you have any uneven edges within your lining, you could always trim them down before you add your binding. And then with that jelly vinyl, you really don't need to fold over that raw edge. But like I can already feel the amount of structure that that's given to the bag. So we're just gonna sew that in place. About 1/8 inch from the raw edge of the binding. Oh, I love that so much. Okay, other side. And since I'm using a binding that's gonna cover my stitches, I'm going to baste the center into place. So like I've got my center cutouts marked, and I'm just gonna do a quick little stitch to hold that down. This is just like a little bit of insurance, really. And And then we're just going to trim around, not trim, but clip around the rest of the bag. And I am doing this with the gusset up and the main piece laying flat on the machine. Okay. Alright, so then we're going to repeat with that 3/8 inch seam allowance. Got my screwdriver to help me. All of that. Going nice and slow over my hacked backpack connectors. I don't want to sew through that rivet, mess anything up. You want to make sure that for a bag like this, you're not using PVC vinyl. PVC vinyl would be really good for like a really structured tote bag, something that, you know, you're only going to turn it once, or, you know, it doesn't have curves, anything like that. Otherwise, your hands are going to be hurting for a week trying to turn the bag or anything like that. Okay, so now we are ready to add our strip of binding to that. I'm so tempted to turn the bag and just be like, screw it, it doesn't need binding. But the binding is almost like boning in a corset, like it's the structure of the bag. I would say, like, I haven't turned the bag, and I probably would have said it in the beginning of the video too, but if you're wanting the gusset to have quite a bit more structure, then do 2 layers of clear vinyl on the bottom of it. I wouldn't do the top because you've got your handle and all that. The top of it doesn't need to be super structured, but